Hi, everyone, and welcome to Dimensional Wellness. This is DeeDee, and I'm so glad to be here with you today, exchanging some energy. And today we're going to be talking about King Solomon today in our little dream time conversation. So this is very interesting dream. And even though it was a very short dream, it was very, very impactful because it gave me information that I did not know at the time. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of story time leading up to this dream. Okay, so this is what was leading up to this dream. So during this time period, which I believe was 2019 or 2020, we were definitely still living in New Orleans when I had this dream. Leading up to it, I was doing a lot of research on Hiram, the builder of Solomon's temple, and then also on Jezebel and the Queen of Carthage. If you do, some research, the research will lead you to the idea that the Queen of Carthage could have been the grand niece of Jezebel. And so there's someone in the Bible. What is this woman's name in the Bible? Sheba in the Bible. Jehosheba. She was a princess, daughter of the deceased king Jehoram, sister to the deceased king Ahaziah. Her relationship with Queen Athaliah is unclear from scripture. Perhaps she was her daughter or maybe her stepdaughter. That this Jehosheba person, this is a personal conclusion, okay? Personal conclusion. That I thought that she made a very, very good candidate for being the, I don't know about Queen of Sheba. I'm not going to say that because I don't know. But she made a good candidate for being who we consider to be Queen Elishat. And there's, even when you look at Eliezer, right? And you look at Hannah and her having Ichabod, and when the Philistines are fighting for the Ark of the Covenant, and they actually lose the Ark of the Covenant. And then we talk about Elisha, the prophet. Those just seem very, very connected to me personally. So I was looking into that at the time. Now, I'm not making that claim. That's a really bold claim, and I don't have any archaeological evidence or anything like that. But it made sense to me. So anyways, and then if you look into the story of Jarkato, you look into the story of, which is also Adagardis, Semiramis, that would be her mother. And then the boy Malkart or Malquart, which is connected to the Phoenician god Malkart. All of these things are very much associated to each other. So anyways, I was doing a lot of research on that and the Knights Templars around this time. And so there was a guy on YouTube who I'm going to actually look him up right quick. Solomon is Pharaoh. I don't remember if he said it was Amenhotep the third. Yeah, because there was, King Solomon is your Pharaoh Amenhotep the third. But there's a specific guy that I want to mention who I saw. Yes, this guy. Let me see what his name is. Okay, so this guy's name is Ahmed Osman, and he goes into a video, which you can find on YouTube. And when I go back and do the timestamps for the videos and things like that, I'll do the links and stuff. So make sure that you save this to a playlist for later so that you get the timestamps and the links. So this guy, he's an Egyptologist, and his name is Ahmed Osman. And he was proposing the theory that Moses is Amenhotep III. And let me see, because he also talked about who he thought. Oh, I'm sorry. That Solomon. Wait, hold on. Wait. What happened during King Solomon's? Hold on. Who did I say? Did I say Moses was Amenhotep III? Okay, I'm just going to read this, okay? Okay, so it says, Mr. Osman discusses how, according to the Bible, Solomon lived 400 years after Moses, but Manetho in his book Egyptica says Amenhotep III and Moses were contemporaries based on what must have been a popular oral tradition in Manetho's time. Mr. Osman has identified Amenhotep III as Solomon and Akhenaten as Moses, and therefore argues that Moses was in fact Solomon's son, as Akhenaten was Amenhotep III's son. Moses, Akhenaten claimed the unity of God for everyone and rejected other gods. This had not ever occurred in the history before. Even Abraham did not object to other gods. Moses, Akhenaten's deity Aten, is the unseen power of Ra, the spiritual dimension of the cosmos, recognized by Sigmund Freud, a Jew, as the Hebrew god Adonai. There could be several reasons for Akhenaten's religious ideas. In ancient tradition, the ruler and god were associated. In the huge empire inherited by Akhenaten, the question must have arisen in the name of which god is the king ruler the far-flung areas. The question must have arisen in the name of which god is the king ruling the far-flung areas. A universal god was needed. Okay, so anyways, and that goes into the Amarna period, which is very interesting time frame, especially when you look into Amarna and you look into Panhesi, which could have been Phineas, which goes into, the story of Dido, because if you look into the Europa tradition, her story is almost exactly similar to the Queen of Carthage, and she also has brothers, Phineas, Phoenix, and another brother I can't remember. And then they talk about how they have kids who are, the kids of Belus, and then they have kids of Agenor. And this is like a really deep thing, but I don't really want to get too deep into that right now, because I want to get to Solomon right now. But anyways, if you go into the comment section, which I love doing when people make really bold claims, I like to go into the comment section and read, the people who support it, and they're like, oh my gosh, yes, because this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I like to take down the information and go research it and be like, oh my gosh, how did they come to this conclusion? It's so fun. And then, of course, you also have the people on the opposite end of the spectrum. Well, if you were smart enough to realize blah, 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 which I like reading their comments too, because they're just as convicted and stuff. And then it's fun because when you do a deep dive most of the time, I'll say most of the time, when you really go look into the opposing arguments, if you really, really do an in-depth study of both of those, most of the time I can say that they're usually both right. And there's key things that maybe they've just missed, that actually would bridge these things together. Because there's a lot of ways how sometimes something can seem opposing, but it's actually the same. So I was actually reading a comment, which I might be able to find it actually. Okay, so it wasn't this particular one, King Solomon in the Real History. Yeah. Okay, sorry if it keeps cutting off. I'm trying to get to the video, and then if it feels like the video is about to start playing, then it stops. Okay. Okay. Ooh, I'm getting a big pressure in my back right now talking about this. Ooh. Ooh, that's how I know I'm really on to something, because I start getting a huge pressure in my back. And it's usually on the right side, right under my shoulder blade. Sometimes it's in the center, sometimes it's in different places, but I know that it's ooh, I'm really on to something now, because I start getting pressure in my back. Okay, so I'm looking for the specific one where they start talking about the Masons. That's about the son of Hapu. Okay, is this where they talk about it? Oh, yeah, okay. So Mr. Osmond has identified Hiram Abiff, an important figure in Masonic tradition, as Amenhotep's son of Habu, which is from 1300 BC, who in Egyptian history after his death became a mediator between man and God. The Masonic books contain teachings, beliefs, rituals, and memories indicating roots going back to the Egyptian Gnostics of the first 2 centuries AD. Besides Hiram Abiff, the Temple of Solomon and Kabbalah are center points. The church regarded the Masons as heretics, just as it had regarded the Gnostics as heretics. But Mr. Osmond believes the Gnostics actually originated the idea of the Savior. All pharaohs were considered messiahs because the word Messiah means the anointed one. But there was only one Redeemer Messiah, and he was rejected, killed, and resurrected. This message and mission was not revealed until 100 AD through the school of Hiram Abiff. Solomon's temple architect Hiram Abiff means his father, did not die a natural cause. According to Masonic tradition, he was killed by 3 ruffians trying to learn the secret name of God. The king found his body and resurrected him. The concepts of spirit and resurrection are never mentioned in Torah. Therefore, they had to come from Egypt. Masons also associate Hiram Abiff with Hermes Trismegistus, the Greek name of the Egyptian god Thoth, which I usually pronounce it as Thought, and considered him a contemporary of Moses and Solomon, whom Mr. Osmond places in the same historical era. According to historical sources, Amenhotep's son of Hapu, or Habu, became known as Asclepius also. He was the master of building under Amenhotep III. Okay. And this is about to go into Memnon and things like that, and I just don't want to get too deep into that right now. But this is a comment under the video. So this guy, his name is Zeke the Flying Chimp. And this video is King Solomon and the Real History Hiram Abiff. And this is under the story History Channel. Okay. So I read that, and at the time I had not heard of Hiram Abiff. But I had heard of Hiram, the builder of Solomon's temple. And so I was like, oh, this is very, very interesting. And so I was reading into it, and I was trying to put the pieces together with the Knights Templar. So not the Knights Hospitallers, but the Knights Templars, which those 2 groups are not the same from what I understand. They're not the same. And I feel like kind of the defining factor maybe of Knights Templars is that they ultimately, I believe, now I'm not a Knights Templar. I've had dreams and past life experience, stuff like that, but sometimes the memory can be a little tricky. But from what I understand, is that the Knights Templars ultimately believed that it was actually John the Baptist who was supposed to be the Messiah, and that it was John the Baptist and Mary Magdalene that had this sacred bloodline, and that's why they are possibly connected to the concept of the Baphomet, the concept of it. I don't know if actually a Baphomet, but the concept of it, which is baptism of wisdom, being baptized in the wisdom, possibly of a spirit that has passed on, which would probably be John the Baptist. And I also believe that has to do with, now this, I'm not exactly sure how it's connected right now off the top of my head. I mean, probably if I really sat and thought about it, which I'm not going to do right now. It definitely makes some type of connection between John the Baptist and Metis, who would be the first wife of Zeus. The first wife of Zeus, who everything was going good until the oracle started prophesying that that the baby was going to overthrow him. Then we have toxic masculinity flaring up. And so the only solution, right, is just to kill the baby, right? I'm just these gods and goddesses and some of the decisions they make and what we consider to be, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but what they consider to be the ultimate solution. Even though you're a god, you're supposed to have, control over the weather and blah, 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 blah. And I'm you couldn't find a way to rule with your son. Greater power than you doesn't necessarily mean killing you, maybe taking your position. But if you still have influence, then what does it really matter other than... Anyways, whatever. Metis, the first wife of Zeus, who gets eaten whole while she's pregnant, and then that's where we get Athena from. Right? And then, of course, now I personally believe that this is also connected to the story of Medusa, the medicine, okay? And it's actually kind of funny because the way that they write it in English is Medusa, right? Which is Med USA, the medicine for the USA, which I think is interesting. I think that they are related to each other. I believe that, of course, we have the Medusa, and then we have Medusa as some type of feminine, serpentine, wisdom, priestess kind of hood. Could be priest too. I just haven't really come across that, but it could be priest too. But some type of sacred, serpentine wisdom of the cosmos kind of priestesshood. So I feel they're connected in some type of way. I don't know exactly. So anyways, so as I was looking into that and I was getting, a lot of things going on, I decided to just sit down and meditate, which I've done that a few times and it never has the effect that I think. I'm just going to sit down and just not even think about it. And then usually I get even more information, which is fun. So anyways, I did that this time. And so I was okay, let me just you just tell someone okay, my cup is full. Okay. Give me a second. And so I'm let me just rest. So I went into this meditation to try to clear my mind. And I immediately started getting this vision. Now, I'm going to tell you the vision, and then I'm going to go into Solomon's dream, okay? Now, I am not sure exactly right now how these two are connected, but I know that they are connected. I just don't know exactly how. But the transition between this vision and this dream was so in sync that I have to mention it. So in this visualization, and I might have talked about this on the channel, I'm not exactly sure. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of it. So pretty much, I saw a vision where I was somewhere in Africa, close to the Middle East, So that part of Africa that's closer to the Middle East. And I don't know exactly where I was because I have been taken prisoner as a part of a war between Nebuchadnezzar II and my tribe. Now, I could not remember my tribe or anything because I was looking at it very much like what you do in QHHT when you're just like looking at a scene, and it just depends on what's going on. There's certain thoughts that don't cross your mind. You know, like if right now your future self were to tap into you right now. Now it's going to change when I say it, but you know, if you're tapping into your life right now, you're not necessarily thinking about your name and where you live and, you know, what car you drive and what street you're living on. You're just existing, right? Now, since I said it and I made that suggestion, now you might start thinking about your name and things like that. But I'm just making a point that when I was, spontaneously brought into this vision at that moment, I was not thinking about what tribe I came from. I was thinking about how I was going to get out of there, which was the whole point of this war tactic, is that I have been captured. I was a woman. I've been captured and I have been blinded and brought to this camp. Of course, so that, and I mean just like blinded where they put, I mean, because you have to be specific because people do crazy stuff in war. My eyes were not gouged out or anything, thank goodness. But I was like blindfolded so that I would not be able to escape and go back to my tribe. And I had no clue where it was. But, and it sounds so interesting to say, but I felt like I was still in Africa, though. The ground still felt like Africa. And I mean, you know, just saying that, it could have also been a wrong interpretation, right? Because that doesn't mean that since I felt like I was in Africa that I actually was. But we were definitely in like a kind of makeshift camp kind of situation. So I'm assuming that they were still at least away from their home. Okay. So I was being led to this, oh, that's what it's called, gazebo. Gazebo, is that what they're called? A gazebo? How do you spell gazebo, child? Oh, is it gazebo? Gazebo. A roof structure that offers an open view of the surrounding area, typically used for relaxation or entertainment. Yes, I did this a second ago and I was like, I'm talking entirely too much. And I couldn't remember what these things were called. And it's called a gazebo. I was like, is it a ramada? And I'm like, no, it's not a ramada. It's a gazebo. Thank you. Because I could not think of that. Gazebo. Okay. So I was led to a structure that looked like a gazebo. Okay. And this was like an Adobe style gazebo. So I'm talking about the gazebos that have this, you know, kind of octagon shape or something like that. And it's got the roof and it comes to a point. So this gazebo that, and I'm just saying like the shape of it. This one didn't have points. It didn't have anything. It was all archways. It was all arched. Okay, so it was all circular. So there wasn't a point like that, but there was like a dome shape. So I was led to that, and then I was blindfolded again. So I guess I wouldn't know where I was going in this place because it wasn't huge, but it was definitely a place that if you didn't know it, you would get lost. It was like a lot of different doorways and stuff as I was walking into it. So I got blindfolded, I guess, so that I wouldn't know where I was going in this place. But I knew where I was going though, because you know, even though you're blindfolded, if you have a snapshot image of where you're going into, then you have an idea of where you're walking to. So anyway, so I got blindfolded walking in there. And like I said, it was like an all white kind of cream color structure. It was all archways. So all of the archways and doors and everything were rounded. And even the top of it was rounded. And it looked like, I guess, like Adobe kind of architecture, which I thought was interesting because I I remember as I was walking up to it, I was like, I have not seen this before. I thought it was like the most interesting little structure because I had not seen that before. And I was like, how did they put this up like so fast? But I didn't know how long they had even been there. So I don't know if they had been there for a while and they were like launching an attack or something like that. Like it was a very strategic, planned out thing, right? So before me being captured, I didn't know how long they were in Africa or where they were in Africa. And I just remember looking at that structure and I was like, this is pretty well organized. Like it wasn't just a tent or something, you know, like a tent kind of structure. It was like they constructed this structure. And so I'm like, what in the world? So anyways, so I get to my room. And then there's like a blackout. So I'm assuming that was like representing for me that time had passed. And so there's a blackout in my memory, I guess. And then, so this is all in the meditation. Okay. So I don't want you to get lost. This is in the meditation. I'm seeing all these things and then it goes black. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if I should get up out of the meditation, but I had the feeling that it was representing time passing and that I would start seeing things again. And that's what happened. So it literally looked like my eyes were opening again. It's wild, I know. Looked like my eyes were opening again. And this time, I was laying on this bed. Now, of course, it's not like a traditional bed that we have now. But there was like some type of feathers. I feel like it was ostrich feathers. I don't remember exactly, but I feel like it was ostrich feathers in like this kind of sack or something. You know, I was like laying on it, but a bed nonetheless, right? But it was a bed, okay? And so I'm laying on this bed and I have what looks like to me taffeta, right? Is that how you spell it? Tafta, taffeta. Yeah. And it's kind of like that kind of abrasive kind of silk looking material that's kind of dull with a little bit of shine. It's very interesting. I will say that. And so I'm wearing this like purple taffeta dress, you know, and it looks like I used to have an Easter dress that looked like this, I believe. And it was like a purple taffeta dress. So anyways, this is a purple taffeta dress, and I remember that it had a big old, I don't even know what you call this because I'm not a seamstress and make dresses and stuff, but, you know, it was like there was the bodice of the dress, which, you know, is like a regular dress, and then there was an attachment on it that was sewn on that was like a big old sun piece, and it was very elaborate. So it was still made of taffeta, but it was attached to the bodice of the dress, and it was a huge round circular piece. And this circular piece was so big that it was like almost like right under my neck, and it covered both of my arms. And so I remember thinking in my mind, this was so funny. I remember thinking in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm like a big old decorative pillow. And like I look like an art piece in this room because this is a very fancy dress. And so anyways, on this big old circular piece that also covered my arms. So if you're looking at me from, you know, facing me, like you can kind of see my arms, but this piece was taking over like my whole entire, like upper torso. It was very interesting. And there were all these like gold triangular pieces and then one gold piece in the center that was representing the sun. Now, this is a very, very specific looking sun. And I could not remember exactly what it was associated to, but it was so specific looking. It was so specific looking. And so it's very interesting because like, what was this? Like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I could not find this specific sun. Like there's so many sun motifs, right? But I could not find this specific sun because it was gold, but there was also like a maroon color and a purple color, I think. And it was just a very specific sun motif. And so I was in Barnes and Noble, and I had the thought in my mind that was like, go get this lucid dreaming book. And I was like, okay, where is it? And they're like, it's over at Barnes & Noble. You can pick it up at Barnes & Noble. So I went over there to get this lucid dreaming book. And when I went in there to look for the book, which I did find and I got it, I ended up seeing this book. Oh my gosh, do I still have the image of that? And it was talking about Swarov. Oh my gosh, what was this man's name? But he is a Scandinavian sun god. Ooh, Swarov. Let me see, child, because let me see if I still have the picture. Now, how these things are related, child, I do not know, because I still don't know exactly how that is related. But let me see if I still have the picture of it, because I took a picture. I saw it on the cover of a book, and it was talking about ancient symbols and motifs, and it had it right on the cover of the book. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is the sun that I saw on this taffeta dress. Let me see if I can find it. I know. Let me see. Okay, that's the pyramid. Where is that book at? Let me see. I know it has to be in here. Kindergarten graduation. Okay, let's see. Where is that book at? Oh my gosh. Okay, this is the lucid dreaming book. Oh, yeah, here it is. Perfect. Okay. So, yeah, Svarga. So, Svarg. So, it says, this symbol of the Slavic sun god Svarga is incredibly powerful and associated with the element of fire. Svarg was the god of blacksmithing, fire, and law, a powerful deity who liked to help his people. He would often assist with plowing the fields. He gave the Slavs the gift of fire to cook their food and an axe to defend themselves in battle. He also gave them a bowl in which to make sacred drinks and offerings, and tongs with which they could forge weapons. Due to this connection, the Svarga is a symbol that can be used to provide protection in times of trouble and to assist with solutions to practical problems. Use its dynamic energy to overcome obstacles and break bad habits. Okay. The Svarga can be used to provide protection in times of trouble. Okay. So if you look up that symbol, so this book is called Harnessing the Powers of Signs and Symbols, Unlock the Secrets and Meanings of These Ancient Figures. And it's by Kirsten Riddle. Ooh, interesting. And so if you look at the front of the book, it has the sun symbol that I'm talking about. Now, of course, in this detail, because this was a hand-sewn, I knew that much. It was a hand-sewn thing. So it didn't have all of these details, and it wasn't exactly these colors, you know, like the pieces in the middle. It didn't have that, but it definitely had this motif though. And then you'll see they have the Sankofa symbol up here. They have the Ankh. They have the Kafri beetle, which is Capricorn. And then this is the, I'm guessing maybe it's a Triskelion. Yeah. And if you're interested in the lucid dreaming book, yeah, wait, oh, did they say something else about this? Yeah. Oh, look, this guy, he actually kind of looks Mongolian, which that's super relevant. Yeah, actually, that's interesting. So on the next page, they have like a Svarga ritual, and then they have like a image of someone, and yeah, it kind of looks like that. Okay, so anyways, so I knew that this dress that I was wearing, I was pretty sure that they had given it to me to wear. So I knew it was connected to them. So it had some type of, was Nebuchadnezzar considered Persian? I don't know. Ooh, let me double check, child, because so I knew it had some type of connection to them. Okay, let me see. Okay. was the second Neo-Babylonian emperor ruling from the death of his father, historically known as Nebuchadnezzar the Great. Okay, Babylonian, okay. Known as the greatest king of the Chaldean dynasty of Babylon. Okay. Armenian descent. Oh, this is Nebuchadnezzar the Fourth. Oh, Nabu. Interesting. That's a whole nother conversation. But anyways, I knew that this was connected to them. So there must be some type of connection to Svarga and the Chaldean and Babylonian dynasties in some type of way. On this particular day, he was coming in to talk to me, and it seemed like he was coming in to talk to me pretty regularly. And even though we didn't speak the same language, it was like we spoke to each other energetically. And so we couldn't have like really deep conversations. And I mean, not like I was like trying to be his friend anyway, right? Not that I was trying to be his friend anyway, because I was a prisoner of war. And even though I was being treated very nicely, I wanted to go home. And I couldn't understand really what he wanted. Do you know what I'm saying? I was just like, usually when it's like a, battle or something like that, and, you're just like killing people to take over their territory. So I was like very like confused as to why there was this whole kind of, gazebo, whatever, Adobe situation and blah, 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 blah. Why I was being dressed up in this, like, dress and stuff. Like, it was just like a very strange thing. So anyways, eventually the conclusion I came to was that he was looking for something. And I'm going to say it very tenderly, because this was, it could be like triggering for people who experience this, of course. But he was looking for something. And I don't know if it was like a translator that I had or something like that. If he brought in, there were other people that he had brought from this place. So I wasn't the only one that was captured. And I feel like it was some type of translator or something who was talking to me that was telling me that he was looking to open up like a portal to something. And he had realized that this portal had to be created through a child, through a specific bloodline. And I was the lucky winner to open up this portal through a child. So it was something about like this child would have to have a certain combination of DNA or something like that in order to unlock something. And I'm assuming it had to do with Tower of Babel or something. So anyways, so the next thing I know, there's a woman that walks in, and they have a very strange kind of relationship to each other. Because I remember thinking this, like, how is she connected to him? Now, he was an older man when I saw him. I don't know how to gauge it, right? Because, I don't know all the contributing factors to aging and things like that, but he definitely had some gray and silver hairs in there. Definitely had that kind of older look that is not always associated to wisdom, but, when people just start looking wiser. He was definitely an older man. I would say definitely older than 50. So between like 50, 55 range. That's what I would say. And this woman was considerably younger than him. Now, I was older than her. I do know that, because she would look like considerably younger. Like, I would say like 18, 19, something like that. And there was this kind of strange kind of situation between them where I knew that they were family, but the way that she was dealing with me, it kind of felt like some type of territorial kind of energy too. So I was like, are they romantically involved with each other? It was a strange feeling. It was a very strange feeling. And in my mind, I kept calling her Mashti with an M. So I know that there is a Vashti, and this is who I believe it was. But when I saw her, I remember them calling her Mashti with an M. Mashti. Yeah, Vashti was a queen of Persia. Okay, because I knew Persia was in here somewhere. I'm like, I know Chaldean, but there's Persian something in here. Vashti was the queen of Persia and the first wife of the Persian king Ahasuerus. Ooh. In the book of Esther, a book included within the Tanakh and the Old Testament, which is read on the Jewish holiday of Purim. Okay. So let me just see how they are related to each other. Because they had to be related to each other. Because I don't know, she felt like, I don't know. They definitely felt related to each other. And there's also kind of a weird thing, which I couldn't exactly tell. But like that she felt some type of way that I was there, number one. And she also felt like she was not in the know because by this time I was pregnant. And she felt like she was not in the know that there was going to be a sexual component to this. And so it's almost like a jealous wife, but I didn't get the feeling that they were married to each other. And she obviously felt like she was entitled to an explanation. And so she was like kind of starting to get, you know how women get, you know, she was starting to kind of get, women start kicking things around and, huffing and puffing and stuff. But I also knew that he had a lot of power though, because she wasn't getting too out of line. Like she knew where the line was, and he was, I guess, not too much of a tyrant where he would let her express herself, but but you knew that there was a line, so you ain't about to get too out of line because then something could actually happen to you. And he wasn't even really paying too much attention to that. But anyways, my point is that they were definitely calling her Mashti with an M. Okay, Vashti and Nebuchadnezzar. Let's see. Nebuchadnezzar, yeah. Okay, according to the Midrash, Vashti was the great-granddaughter of King Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon, the granddaughter of King Amel Marduk, and the daughter of... Wait, hold on. Okay, wait. Is described as wicked and vain, viewed as an independent mind heroine in the feminist theological interpretation of the Purim story. Refuses the king's summon. Well, I definitely could see that because she definitely has some fire. Now, she wasn't going to push it too far, but she definitely made it known that she was not feeling what was going on and she should have been included. Okay, so let's see. Oh, yeah. Look, critics of the historicity of the Book of Esther propose that the name may have originated from a conjectured Elamite goddess whom they called Mashti. Yes. Now, maybe she could have been named after Mashti, but they definitely called her Mashti. But her name could have also been Vashti, and they called her Mashti for the association to the goddess. That also could be a possibility, but I definitely remember them calling her Mashti. Okay, I was trying to see where they said daughter of something. Daughter of... daughter... Okay, I don't know. Come on, Wikipedia, you're doing the most. I want to just see... Okay, in the book of Esther... in the Midrash. Oh, daughter of King Belshazzar. I had a dream about him too. Oh, snap. During Vashti's father's rule, mobs of Medes and Persians attacked. They murdered Belshazzar. Dang. Belshazzar that night, Vashti, unknowing her father's death, ran to her father's quarter. There she was kidnapped by King Darius, the Persian child. But Darius took pity on her and gave her to his son to marry. Oh, that's nice. Like, I killed your dad and just like, you know. Ugh, look, here goes Gabriel. He's always in everything. They attribute her unwillingness to appear before the king and his drinking partners not to modesty, but rather to an affliction with a disfiguring illness. One account relates that she suffered from leprosy, while another states that the angel Gabriel came and fixed a tail on her. What? The later possibility is often interpreted as a euphemism for a miraculous transformation to male anatomy. What? Wait. Hold on a second, because what? What? I have never in my life heard of that. Angel Gabriel came and fixed a tail on her. A miraculous transformation to male anatomy. What? Okay. What? Huh? What? Okay. Let me get back to what I'm talking about, y'all. Because what? I'm going to have to go look into that. Because what? What are you talking about? And Gabriel is always in some stuff. Like, he is always in some stuff. Okay. So, anyways, it's a little bit graphic. But on this particular day, I guess she had enough. So, he was talking to me. And it was pretty much like... for some reason, I'm thinking about A Handmaid's Tale. And it was like, since I was pregnant, I was holding this child that they were pretty sure that it was going to be a son. Even though I was a prisoner, I was being treated fairly nicely. Like, I was able to eat certain foods and blah, 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 blah. And this Mashte was just not happy with it. Like, she just... was just highly annoyed with it. So anyway, so he was asking me what I wanted to eat. Now, by this time, I'm guessing that I had started to pick up. So I was still in the same room. And I know where I was because you walk into this gazebo situation, adobe situation, and you walk to the back. And I was the last room on the left. Okay, walking in. So I would have been on the right if you were facing the back wall. It was the very last room on the left. I knew where I was in this. So I don't know if I, was kind of like skipping over certain memories, just kind of seamlessly making them into one. And so like at some point I walked out and I knew where I was. But I remember that by this time when he was asking me what I wanted to eat on this particular day, I was relatively comfortable here. So I wasn't still like furious and angry. By this time, of course, I was pregnant. I didn't go there pregnant. But I also knew, though, that this was, even though obviously we'd been there for at least 6 or 7 months, I knew that this was not their permanent place. So I guess maybe they had a fort somewhere. I don't know if that's what they would have called it, but I guess they had some type of fort or something, or some type of city outpost, or I don't know, there, because they were there pretty long, but I knew that that's not where they actually lived at. So anyways, child, this is graphic, but this is what I remember seeing. So on this particular day, I guess it really popped her top because she was just like so upset that I was getting this treatment. And so he left, and the next thing I know, she came and she literally like asked, how long has it been so far? You know, like, how long have I been with this baby so far? And I knew that I was probably about 8 months. So I was going to be delivering within like the next month. And she said something like, okay, well, that's enough. And I promise you, what I remember is that she literally cut my belly open, like at that moment, and was taking out the child. And I was like literally sitting there dying. And I knew that this was a boy. It was a boy. And this is also strange, but I remember it. And she was like, okay, we're going to call him Lily too. We're going to call him Lilith. And I remember thinking, like, why in the world would you name... Now, this is from my perspective of looking onto it. Because at that moment, of course, I'm like in agonizing pain and I'm like drifting away. Like, I could literally see my eyes closing and stuff. My body's in shock. Like, my eyes are closing and I'm drifting off to the other side. And it's like I'm like floating away from my body. And there was actually another entity there that was a female goddess who was pulling me away from the body at this moment so that I wouldn't feel the pain of it, and also not be too connected to my body for some type of reason, connected to the baby too, like sending him into shock. And so she actually like cut him out of my belly. And so she was planning to raise him as her son. Child, I know. It makes my stomach hurt every time I think about it, which is why I know that it's based on something. Like, I mean, it seemed pretty obvious what it's based on, but just in case it's something else, you know? Oh, no. Oh, there is a mosquito in here. Just in case it's based on something else, but every time I think about it, my stomach starts hurting, like, immediately. Like, my stomach feels uneasy now. I'm sorry if I'm transferring that, like, take it back and, you know, dissipate any pain or anything, because I know sometimes I'm really empathetic to what people are talking about, and I can start feeling what they're feeling, too. So, yeah. But, yeah, and she said that, you know, she was going to name him Lilith. A boy. And at this point, I hadn't heard of a male Lilith, which actually recently, within the last month or so, I got to meet the male Lilith. And that's a whole nother story I'm going to talk about later. But anyway, so she was going to raise this baby as her son. Now, I don't know if she had a son that they talked about. I could look it up. But I'll probably do that later because we're already an hour and I haven't even gotten to Solomon yet. So anyway, I'm just laughing because like this world is really, really crazy. And this was something that was going on. So that was the end of it. Okay. And I remember as this energy was pulling me back, and I could see her. She was like a rolling darkness. I don't know how to describe it. She had like a feminine silhouette. Like I could see her and she was talking to me. And it was like I knew her. Like immediately when I saw her, I knew her. And I was talking to her almost like a sister. And I was like, can you believe her? And I remember one of the first things I said was like, he's the enemy. Like we could have taken the child and raised the child together. Like he's the enemy. Why would she kill me? And I'm like, and this is my child. And so she was reassuring me, you know, that the child would be taken care of and stuff like that. Now, she was not fine with it. She was very upset with it. But it seemed like even though this woman made this rash emotional decision, there was a reason that this child was being born. And they felt like out of all the possibilities of what was going to go on in life, that even though she was upset at the situation and upset that I was even there and that she wasn't in the know about what was going on, that she was going to actually raise this baby as hers and she would not bring harm to him. And that even though I would not be in his life, that him being there and I guess on the planet at that time was necessary. And like I said, she was a feminine energy, very striking looking energy. And where her body was, it was like a rolling darkness. It definitely gave me like octopus kind of vibes, because it was like rolling upward, like almost like octopus tentacles. And like I said, immediately it's like, I don't know if I remembered her existence when I was in life, but when I saw her and I was transitioning over to the spiritual realm, she helped me transition. I remembered her, and I was like, girl, can you believe this, child? Can you believe? Oh gosh. Let me see. Did they talk about Vashti having a child? We know who don't read their Bible, okay? Because I don't remember these stories like that. But I also think that to a certain extent, it's probably good that I don't exactly remember them, because if some of the information came through and I was like super hardcore, I probably would reject it and totally forget it and totally miss out on what it's trying to tell me. So I think that that's like probably the beneficial part of it. Oh my gosh, my computer has been doing some stuff today. I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay, I'm just gonna restart it. Okay, but I'm gonna look it up. So anyway, I could look it up on my phone, but anyway, so this was a visualization that I saw, okay? So let's say that I saw this on a Tuesday, okay? So this was in a meditation. And not that I don't take meditation seriously, because it was very detailed and it was very specific. And I was in that meditation for a while, maybe like an hour. And it was so vivid that I knew that it's based on something that has happened before. So I wrote it down. And then at that point, I still have 4 kids. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to write this down, but I still got to go like cook and clean and things like that. So I wrote it down, and it was also very gruesome too. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to think about this later, because, I'll like have dreams and visualizations and stuff like this. And I kid you not, I don't know exactly why or, what the method is to it, but I will dream about something or talk about something with a friend, like in the house, and my kids sometimes will start dreaming about it, even though I have not directly talked to them. They have not directly even heard the conversation, and sometimes they would dream about it. So I was like, let me put that out of my mind, because I don't want anybody dreaming about that tonight. It's very interesting. And so I was like, okay, let me push that away. So it was like maybe a month later. I'll say about a month, 3 weeks to a month later, where I had this dream. So, and it's 8:53 right now. 8:8 is time travel. Whenever I see 8:8, I think about time travel. Okay. So, and this was time travel in a sense. So I went to sleep this night. And I woke up, I kid you not, I woke up exactly in this Adobe place that I saw in the meditation. I woke up in the dream world in this place. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember, so I was semi-lucid, right? Because when they talk about lucid, did I give the name, the lucid dreaming book? This is Zachariah Stitchin. Where'd my lucid dreaming book go, y'all? It's a cute little small book too. Okay, I'm gonna get the book and stuff for you a little bit later, because I thought it was up here. Child, where's my lucid dreaming book at? Okay, I don't know where it went. But anyways, so I literally was in this Adobe gazebo place, and I was like, oh my gosh. So, that's what I was saying. So lucid dreaming is like when you completely know that you're dreaming. That's like considered like actual lucid dreaming. You know that you're dreaming, you know that you're in a dream, blah, 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 blah. So I usually have where I'm semi-lucid. There are certain things that I remember from this life, but I don't completely remember that I am quote unquote sleeping. So I don't actually know what that's called. So I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember this place. So I remembered that I had saw it in a meditation. Okay, so I'm like, oh my gosh, this place is real. And I remember saying that out loud, like, this place is real. And so intuitively, I already knew where to go. I knew you go all the way to the back and you go to the left. And that was my room. And so I was like, okay, I guess they have a message for me. So I went there. This is so crazy. Look, I don't like drama, but I do like theatrics. And this was very theatrical. And I really enjoyed this part of the dream. So I go to the back and I go to the left and I see the bed with the ostrich feathers. Okay. And I believe they're ostrich feathers. They were big feathers. And there is a blind. Wait, hold on. Hold on. Cause it was very theatrical and it was not what I was expecting. Okay. I go back there and my side of the bed is clear. There's nobody there, but there's so my side of the bed, like, you know, even though I feel like I pretty much stay there by myself, I still like to sleep on like if we're looking at the bed, I used to sleep on the right side of the bed closest to the door. That's where I would usually roll over and end up on the right side of the bed. So that part of the bed was empty. But there was this old blind woman that was on the left side of the bed, like stereotypical witch with the wart, with the, you know, old woman, blind, hag kind of looking woman. She had the black veil over her face, like, and it was kind of like this black chiffon kind of veil, this black, you know, ensemble on, and it was very dramatic, okay, very theatrical. And she was blind. So she wasn't just blind. She also had this almost like overgrowth of skin over her eyes. So like really blind, okay? And I immediately was like, oh my gosh, it's the blind prophetess. And I remember that, you know, people that are blind like this, they usually have really, really deep spiritual sight. And so they have the ability to transport you into their visions, which is wild to me. And I also knew that the growth over her eyes was something specific, but I couldn't remember like how that happens. But there's something specifically that happens that causes this growth over the eyes, which enhances their psychic vision. So she saw me and she was like, come in. Come in, my child. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I'm a bite. Okay, come on. Like, what do you have to show me today? So I'm like, oh, this is about, and I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, this is about to get real. Like, this is about to get real. Like, this is not pretend. And like I said, it's not that, like, when I saw it in the vision that I didn't think that it was real. I just didn't know that they were going to come and validate it to me in a different way. Because I had not seen a blind prophet in that vision. I had not even been looking at blind prophets or anything. Actually, though, when I think about it, actually, there was a blind prophet kind of energy around, because actually, so this had to be at the end of October, because I was pregnant with my daughter, and her doctor's name was Cecilia. And I had a friend who was connected to a Cecilio. And so when I saw my daughter, her doctor, when I was pregnant, was Cecilia, I looked it up and it meant the blind. And I think probably randomly, like, oh, I wonder if it's like a blind prophetess, you know, because when they talk about the fates and the Moriari and stuff, I think sometimes they're associated to being blind, if I'm not mistaken. So anyways, blind, everything like that. So she lifts her veil, takes the veil off, and she starts grabbing my hand. She's like, come and lay down with me. And so I lay down next to her, and she was like, you want to know if you're connected to Solomon? In my head, I'm like, did I set an intention of that? Because I don't remember setting an intention of asking if I was connected to him. But she was holding my hand, so I was like, maybe she's getting some type of energy off my essence, and that's what I'm asking. She was like, yes, you are connected to Solomon. I'm like, oh, snap, you know, because I felt a connection to the Queen of Sheba story. Now that's a whole nother story, because that's a whole nother story. But I was like, yes, I do want to know if I'm connected to Solomon. So she was like, come lay down next to me. So we lay down and we're holding hands. Okay. So it's like we're about to meditate together. So I'm holding her hand. So I'm holding her right hand. And she is like, you only have a limited amount of time, so get what you need. And so I was like, okay. I'm like, what does that mean? So I promise you, like, this is going on in the dream, okay? This is going on in the dream, okay? I get sent into a different realm. So this was the realm. It looked exactly how it looked when I was like passing away, and I saw this, rolling thunder goddess. So a spirit realm, I guess. And that's what she sent me into. So she literally had the ability for us to meditate together, and she had the ability to send me out of body in the dream world to the astral realm, or to the death realm, or after realm, or some other type of realm that's deeper than just the dream realm or astral realm. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know what they're called. I don't know the characteristics and what this other realm is called, but it was another realm besides where you dream. And so I was literally floating like in the void in this other realm. I was floating like in the void, and I'm calling it the void because I don't remember seeing stars and stuff like that. So I don't think it was the cosmos. So I'm gonna call it the void. It was a black space. And I was floating around, and I saw what looked like these Blu-ray memories floating. And so I immediately saw them, and I immediately knew, oh, these are King Solomon's Akashic records. These are his memories from his life. This is his Akashic record. So she is giving me the opportunity to review his Akashic record, because there's something in there that I need to see and I need to remember. So I was like, first of all, I'm like, this is wild. But I remember she said I didn't have enough time. So I'm like, girl, scratch that, because we don't have time. What is it that you need to see? So that's exactly what I said. So they were hovering with me. And like I said, they looked like Blu-ray memories playing like movies. And it was like almost like it was kind of book-like. So it was like sheets of memories, different sheets of memories. So I assume that those are like different time periods. And so some of the memories were in like different books, I guess, different sheets of memory. And so I just said, because I wasn't sure what I was supposed to be seeing. So I was like, show me the most relevant ones. And again, it was very much like QHHT. And at this time, when I had this dream, I hadn't even done QHHT yet. I hadn't even committed to QHHT yet, which was wild. But now that I've done QHHT, this is what it looks like when people are remembering past life memories. You just kind of, it's also like the dream realm. You just kind of start in a memory and you just say what's going on. So I was like, I don't know which ones to start with. I don't know if I should just thumb through all of them. I don't know how to interact with these, Blu-ray pages and stuff. I don't know. So I was just like, show me exactly what I need to see. And so 3 memories came forward. And the first memory I saw Solomon getting married to a woman. Okay, so this was a traditional kind of more Middle Eastern looking man, a really deep olive brown, not brown, heavy melanated, but how Middle Eastern people can have, that kind of toasted brown olive skin tone. He looked like that. And he was getting married to a woman who definitely was brown. She was definitely brown. She reminded me of either someone from Ethiopia or Sudan, or the Sudan. That's what I would say. She was definitely a brown skin woman. So not Middle Eastern toasted brown, she was brown. And I don't like to say like African in this sense, because of course Ethiopia is in Africa and stuff like that. But we know that, we're talking about tribes here, like who your parents are. And I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff about that. So I don't want to say that Ethiopian or Sudan. She would be African. But she was definitely phenotypically a brown woman, very heavily melanated woman. And like I said, if I had to guess, phenotypically, just based on stereotypically looking at features, right? Because your features also don't say your whole genetic history and ancestry. Phenotypically, she would look like an Ethiopian or a Sudanese woman. And I would even go as far to say as possibly South Indian. Possibly a little bit of South Indian flavor in there. A little bit, okay? And so that was the first thing that I saw. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. Now, the next two things I saw were very shocking to me. Because at this time, I did not put these two and two things together. So like I said, I was studying into the Masonic things, and I was studying into Haramabif, and I knew that Haramabif had created, the temple and everything, but I had not made this connection yet, okay? So the first one I saw was that Solomon had come from a family of whatever it was called in those times, Freemasons. He was a part of a Freemason family. That was number one. Off top, he was from a Freemason family. And they also saw, what I saw in there was that there was some type of kingship. Ooh, and that's making my stomach hurt too. Some type of kingship ritual or something outside of just the public king coronation. There was some type of more secretive, traditional family passing on the power to the next son that was specifically a Freemason. What do you call it? Freemason ritual, I guess, or Freemason, induction, initiation, or something like that. And they had a separate one that was more private for like the family. And it also was very clear that he had not started the Freemasons, and that David was involved. David was also a Freemason. And if I had to guess, as far back as it probably went, would probably be to Jesse. That's probably where I would say. Now, I also knew that the Phoenician families and these and this family too were also interconnected to each other. So they have been interconnected to each other for a very long time. So the Phoenician families were also Masonic families. And like I said, they have been connected to each other for a long time. So even though they get introduced in the Bible at a certain point, they had actually been walking with this family of quote unquote chosen people, at least back to Jesse. And they were companion families of each other. That's what I would say. Companion families of each other. And I remember being like, what? What? Because, I didn't know if Solomon knew that. And then I was like, why would he ask this Phoenician guy with different belief systems, right? Because that's supposedly what Jezebel was killed from, is that they didn't believe in the Phoenician things. But what I saw in the Akashic record is that they were companion families to each other. So I don't know what the fight actually was about, but it definitely was not about belief systems, because like I said, they were companion families to each other. And it was almost like the Phoenician family was in servitude to their family. And what came to my mind was like, now we kind of have this viewpoint of like, oh, there's one patriarch, one king. And then if you're in service, it's like a downgrade to you. But from what I understood, it was like one God being in service to another God was actually high honor for both of them. And so it didn't really matter as much as like exactly who was in charge, because servitude was also seen as respectful, I guess. Also respectful. And they were on different sides of the spectrum. So, of course, you would be in gratitude to someone who had the ability to create your temple, right? Because there's certain mathematics that goes into it to make sure that it's connected to certain energies and things like that. Okay. And then the last one is a little bit disturbing. It's a lot bit disturbing, but I'm not going to go too deep into it. But I do want to mention it because it is very relevant. So the very last image, the last Akashic record thing that I saw was that attached to this sort of initiation into the Masonic traditions of the kings of Israel, there was also a part in there that had to do with sexually abusing little boys. And that's something that had been passed down, a part of it, for it seemed like as long as it had been beginning. Now, I know that there were some thoughts about it that was connected to, in the Greek tradition, sometimes you had the, pupil of the sage. I know those are interchanging different words and different different words and different traditions, but just the idea of these gurus and them having pages. It was some of that, but at the core of it's sexually abusing children, and that's why it's still seen as something going on, probably even to this day. So I didn't get like a full visual of it, thank goodness, but it was understood that was what was going to be coming next. And so after I saw that, she pulled me back into my body energetically, called me back into my body. And then I woke up and that was pretty much the end of that. So it was very interesting because it gave me a perspective on just how deep this robbing of the inner child and robbing the essence of the childhood experience is in a lot of traditions that have to do with, gods, goddesses, deities, and how in society in general, not just in everyday society, but especially in more religious-oriented societies, how children are not protected. And it kind of went into this thing for me where, we have to be very careful as people about the energies and who we're doing things for and what's being asked. Because even though at times something might be permissible by a god or goddess or tradition or ancestor, it doesn't mean that we should actually partake in it. And sometimes when there is this element of the supernatural or the heavenly bodies or heavenly entities, we can forego what's actually going on in our day-to-day reality in lieu of what these other energies want. I feel like I'm saying it complicatedly, but it's not just Christianity. I mean, that was even a thing in China. I remember reading about it, of course, in the Greek, which Epstein Island looks very much like a Greek temple out in the Virgin Islands. If you know about the story of the Vestal Virgins, but then you would have to know the deeper story of Virgo, which Virgo did not have to do with virginity. It had to do with being untamed, unbound to a marriage. So they were actually pretty sexually free, but they were not under the constraints of a marriage. When in marriage is when you are said to be, what's the word? When you are said to be under more strict rules about who you're sexually intimate with, right? And I'm not saying that, I don't believe that abstinence before marriage is a good quality to have, because I do in real time looking at people's decisions of, you know, us being intimate with people before marriage and things like that, and how it can definitely cause a lot of issues. But there's a lot more to that. But anyways, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. And yeah, I'll probably come on a little bit later and post another. I'm sorry, I'm at Starbucks right now, and they have the Christmas menu out. And if you know me, you know that I am born the day after Christmas, and so I love Christmas, and they have all type of Christmas stuff right now. Okay,